Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where I help guide you along your wellness journey towards a more holistic and natural way of not only living, but also healing as well too. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 8 foods that are going to be banned as a result of RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the new health secretary. Now, let me say this. You can go back to last year. I did a whole entire video talking about how American foods are banned in other countries, okay? There's a long list of them. So to hear that many of the foods that I list, and it's not all of them, but many of the foods that I list that are banned in other countries or are about to be banned is very promising. I'll say that at the least. However, this isn't the rollout that they have in other countries. Okay, because a lot of these foods, which I approve of, many of them are going to be banned in government programs and in schools, which is really important for our kids, because if we don't protect the next generation will be obese, sick, and unfortunately have very, very short lifespans. Okay, so I'm going to give a nice clap, but there's a lot more to do. Okay, because this not only affects our kids, this affects you. And it's unfortunate, we're the sickest that we've ever been. As a matter of fact, there's a statistic out that says that 60% of foods in the grocery store have some form of chemical coloring, sweetener, or preservatives in them. And I'll tell you, that number is higher. I mean, even when I go to places like Whole Foods and I go down one aisle and I'm going down another aisle, it's very rare that I can find something that is actually healthy and doesn't have some sort of chemical that I would never eat, okay? And being a chemist, because my degree was chemistry in undergrad, and doing research on food chemistry, I understand that chemistry far better than most people do. And so when I'm looking at ingredients, I can tell you that the vast majority of foods that are on the shelf, I would say somewhere around 80 to 90% have things you should not be eating. And there are things that are in that food that have now made it not a food as a result of you adding this to the food. So this is a real issue. And I think it's worth celebrating as a start. But I don't think that this is going to get us where we need to go when you're looking at how sick Americans are, all right? And not only Americans, people in many other first world nations as well, too. So I'll go through some of the foods that they're banning. And the reason why I think this is important for everybody is because the foods that they're banning, this is just a reminder of foods you need to stay away from, okay? If they're looking to ban this, and companies are saying, hey, okay, by the end of 2026, we'll have a rollout where we completely remove some of these ingredients, it tells you it should have never been there, which means that you should not be eating it. Okay, so don't wait until it's a full ban to feel like you're okay, because I'll tell you that there's going to be other things that they don't add to this. So it's just really important. So let's jump right into it. The first thing that they're going to be attacking is sugar, and specifically high fructose corn syrup. Now, high fructose corn syrup, I do believe, was created in Japan, and Japan had instantly banned high fructose corn syrup. But it's unfortunate that most things in the supermarket have some form of high fructose corn syrup or sugar in it. All right, so this is one of the things that is going to be sort of removed from schools and government programs. Again, very important, because high fructose corn syrup is a major contributor to obesity, and childhood obesity is the highest that it's ever been. Fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and also heart disease. We're starting to see kids develop heart disease in their early adolescence. Okay, so it's not something that's happening when somebody is in their 30s and 40s now. We can see the beginning signs of it in children in their adolescent years. So this is important, okay, because most of the foods that are served at schools are the same type of foods that are served in prisons. And in my opinion, you shouldn't feed it even to a rat, okay? So this is a plus, getting rid of high fructose corn syrup. You should be at a point where you're removing this from your diet in completion, okay? And as I mentioned in my book, Vegetation Over Medication, there are so many different names for sugar. There are over 200 different names for sugar. And to be honest, in many cases, it's a different name, but the same thing. So I mentioned many of those, over 75 in my book. There's over 200 different names. So when you're in the supermarket, start reading the labels, okay? Get familiar with some of these names. But high fructose corn syrup is going to be removed at some point from schools and government programs, which I think is worth celebrating. Number two, artificial dyes, okay? And these are, again, banned in other countries, okay? Banned in other countries. For example, red number 3, red number 40, yellow number 5, yellow number 6, blue number 1. These are some of the dyes that are going to be banned, which is really good because you'll find probably all of these in Fruit Loops or Fruity Pebbles, okay, which a lot of kids are eating these days, okay? So these are commonly found in cereals. And these type of dyes have been shown to be linked to behavioral problems, allergies, hyperactivity. And guess what? When are kids getting these foods? In the morning. And then they're hyper. And then all of a sudden, this is what's leading to the behavioral issues. And then all of a sudden they tank, and then they're sleepy, and then they get in trouble for being sleepy because the sugar made their blood sugar spike, and then it tanked their blood sugar. So it's just really important to understand that these things that are being banned, these are things that you need to remove from your home if you currently have them in your home, okay? Don't feed your kids these type of things. This is why so many kids, unfortunately, are on ADD medications and ADHD medications, and so many adults are also on them as well too. So it's just really important to understand we need to remove these even before they do the ban, okay? Kraft Heinz, a company, has announced that they're going to be removing these artificial dyes. But again, we need to keep our eyes on them because what they say and what they do is quite often different. Because why does the government have to intervene as a company for you to say, all right, we're going to remove these? All right. So this isn't necessarily something that they're doing because they're being honorable. This is something they're doing because it's being brought to the light now. And other politicians in the past did not bring it to the light. All right. Number 3, seed oils. And I've talked about seed oils before. All right. So, and I've told you how unhealthy they are, but seed oils are essentially things like safflower oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil. You do not want to ingest these type of oils. And I'll tell you, most restaurants, when you're being served your food, even at high-end restaurants, you're being served food using these seed oils, okay? And what makes them so dangerous is that they're highly inflammatory. They lead to heart disease, obesity, and so many other things too. And they're also a contributor to cancer as well too. And primarily that inflammation is coming from the fact that they're loaded with what are called omega-6s, not omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, but omega-6s, which are pro-inflammatory. They cause inflammation in all of the blood vessels and all of the tissues, all right? And so the idea is to replace these seed oils with healthier oils like avocado oil and olive oil, etc. Okay, so we'll see. Keep your eyes on the labels, all right? Number 4, the number 4 toxic food that is going to be banned, and again, I'm using air quotes because it's only being banned in specific places, which means that it's not being banned everywhere, okay? And if it's not being banned everywhere like it is in other countries, then we haven't gotten to where we need to go because everybody needs to be protected from these, poisonous foods. But they're going to be removing them from schools, and these ultra-processed foods are things like chicken nuggets, frozen pizzas, sugary cereals, chips. These are the type of things that are going to be removed. Now, if you go into the school system today, you'll notice that there's vending machines, and kids are buying things out of vending machines. Just take a look at what's in the vending machines. Just take a look at what's on these kids' plates, And then take a look at what's being fed to prisoners. It's not very different. So I think it's just really important to make this shift, especially with the youth, but we also have to make these shifts as well too, because this is part of the epidemic of chronic disease, all right? And ultra processed foods are linked to both childhood obesity and diabetes as well too. So that's hugely important. Number 5 is BVO. BVO is brominated vegetable oil. Now you'll find these quite often in sodas and sports drinks and energy drinks. And BVO is basically used in most of the drinks that you'll find citrus flavored. So things like Mountain Dew, all right? Is loaded with BVO. And this BVO attacks the thyroid and disrupts thyroid function, but it also attacks the nervous system as well too. And just imagine, like, these are things that kids are throwing back. We're throwing back every day. And then we end up with a thyroid issue or a nervous system problem, and we don't know where it came from. But this is where it came from. So this is another one of those things that is going to be banned. But again, this is something that is already fully banned in other countries like Europe and Canada. Okay, hugely important. Number 6, potassium bromate. There was one time I was in the store and I picked up a sourdough vegan bread, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is decent. Sourdough and vegan, so I don't have to worry about the dairy. I was like, let me check the ingredient label. Check the ingredient label, has potassium bromate in it. It's commonly used in baked goods as an additive for the dough. And it's unfortunate, like even in the aisle when I saw it, and I said potassium bromate, and somebody heard me and they looked at me and was like, what's that? And I'm like, a carcinogen. And I kind of like shoved the bread back on the shelf, and I was like, I was mad. I'm like, why would they put this in there? But again, I understand chemistry in a way that most people don't understand chemistry. And so it is a carcinogen, okay? That's the reason why it's banned in other countries. It is linked to kidney cancer, okay? And it's commonly used in the US in a lot of the breads that are used here, okay? So, and sometimes it's not always listed as well too, okay? But it's already banned in both Canada and Europe, okay? Already banned. Not just in schools, but banned, period, okay? So again, like, that's why I want you to understand the importance of this sort of slow rollout. In my opinion, it should, all right, if other countries have already found that this is unsafe for their populations, then what is the slow movement process to get this fully out of our system? I just don't understand that. All right, but that's number 6, potassium bromate. All right, number 7, processed meats. Okay, this is stuff that we grew up on. Bologna and turkey ham and turkey bacon and hot dogs and hamburgers. The list goes on. These processed meats are listed as a level 1 carcinogen. They're full of what are called nitrates, okay? And when I say a level 1 carcinogen, I mean the highest level of what could be potentially cancerous for somebody. Processed meats are on that level. Now I want you to think about that, because I grew up, eating sandwiches with all of the things that I mentioned, with the exception of pork. And so I'm happy that it's on the list, and I'm happy that we're moving in the right direction. But it's just really important to understand that anything, in my opinion, that is known as a carcinogen should not be on a shelf, which people are eating. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But again, we're moving in the right direction. And I think, if anything, what this does is it brings attention to people to say, all right, I'm not going to eat processed meats. Please don't eat processed meats, okay? Number 8, and the final one, It's artificial sweeteners, okay? Now, you're going to find a lot of these artificial sweeteners in energy drinks and these zero drinks, these 0 calorie, 0 sugar drinks, okay? Now, when they tell you there's no sugar in there, but then you taste it and it tastes sweet, this is what is causing the sweetness, is the artificial sweetener. Now, this is everything from aspartame to xylitol to Splenda to saccharin, which I believe is NutraSweet. These are the type of artificial sweeteners that are commonly put in things. Now, they know that when we eat anything that is sweet, everybody knows that it's going to make somebody want more of it. So this is why so many things have sweetness to them. Okay, but what people don't know about these artificial sweeteners, which have no calories and have no sugar in them, but are sweet, people don't know that they increase your appetite and weight. People don't know that they create dysbiosis in the gut. Okay, people don't know that they lead to diabetes, increased risk for strokes and heart attacks. People don't know that they're associated with that. So a lot of people, when they see these zero drinks or even the energy drinks, they're thinking to themselves like, well, I got the Coke Zero or whatever it is. And so it's a healthier version of what I would usually get. But these artificial sugars are neurotoxins, okay? And they cause all of the issues that I mentioned before. So those are the 8. There are a few more, but I think that these are the 8 that are most important, that encompass all of them, that are coming down the pipeline. Keep your eyes out. Keep your eyes on the label. Do not buy anything without reading the label. And if you can't understand what something is or you can't pronounce it, it's probably not a good thing. So I hope you have enjoyed this information. Get this out to the people, because at minimum, you could use this information to say, all right, this is what I don't want my children eating. This is what I need to stop eating. And this is what's going to make me healthier. So make sure you share this information, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.